Okay, here we are with Sean from White Zombie. Thanks so much, Sean, for getting online today and having a chat with me. Really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for calling. Good to hear your voice.
Yeah, it is. And really nice to catch up. And actually, the only time I ever met you was back in '95 when you guys first toured Australia. I think the first show was Brisbane, and met you guys. I think you had turned up to the venue for sound check, and a few of us were there. And you know, the typical fan thing, you know, get out the old shirt and get it signed and all that sort of thing. So I remember that. I remember that vividly.
We were so thrilled to be in Australia. I thought we'd never get there. I mean, that's the hardest tour to get, you know, when you're in a band. It's just so far away. It's such an expensive plane ticket, you know.
Yeah.
It was, I think we got to do that because we got a tour in Japan and with Pantera, and I think we came back through, we stopped by, you know, and did the shows in Australia on the way back. Yeah, right. I think that's the only way we could afford to do that. I mean, even though we were doing well, but we weren't like, you know, whatever. We weren't quite we were still kind of building up, you know, fans and stuff. So it was, wow.
Well, you definitely made an impact, I think, around the world pretty quickly. I mean, obviously you guys have been going, you know, since mid '80s, but, you know, I think, you know, all of a sudden you just sort of, you know, sprang into sort of international recognition, you know, sort of thing with, you know, obviously, the end of the Sexorcisto tour and all that sort of thing, you know, with the, recognition from those two little, animated metalheads.
Yeah, they helped quite a bit, didn't they?
Yeah. But, you know, I still really think that you guys would have slowly crawled your way there. Whether you guys were still together years later or not, but I think just the strength of that album, which is what we're talking about today, the Sexorcisto coming up to the 30th anniversary. How does it feel?
Oh, I can't believe it's been that long. It's crazy. Seems like yesterday, you know. It's
yeah.
I still go up to New York pretty often, and I don't know. I love the East Village, and you know, it's pretty. You know, it's not that different, really. You know.
Yeah. Well, you were just there, weren't you? So I mean, you go a few times a year, is it? You head back, or?
Yeah. I try to get up there a few times, see old friends and stuff. It's nice.
Yeah. It would be catching up, and I mean, has all the areas where you used to live, has it changed heaps, or is it still some areas are pretty much the same?
It's changed a bit, but you know, the Lower East Side's still the Lower East Side, especially post-COVID.
Yeah, right.
Off around the edges, and East Village, you know, some of the things are still there, you know, from back when we were there, and it's, you know, it's changed here and there, but New York City's such a great place. It's always New York, you know. What are you gonna do?
That's it. So before we sort of dive back into those days, I wanted to quickly ask you about something that you and Jay posted on your Instagram recently about all the new White Zombie merch that's come out.
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
yeah, some cool stuff. Did you have much of a hand in that, or was like design wise or anything, or it was just something that someone did like the companies sort of did independently, sort of thing?
Well, I mean, as far as the designs, those logos were like me and Rob did all those. The things that are more like artwork are Rob, and like some of the logos are mine.
Yeah.
And you know, so yeah, I had something to do with that, and also we have a new manager, and you know, I made some suggestions of things we could do, and I sent him all the designs and got everybody, got everybody in the band to approve it. But no, we have a great new manager, and he got this going. I just couldn't believe we didn't have merch available all these years, you know. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, same with all the fans. I mean, there's so many bootlegger, dodgy people online trying to flog stuff off.
Yeah, and you know, we have great designs, you know. Rob was a great artist. We met at Parsons. I was in design and he was in illustration, and
Yeah.
that's all of our flyers, he'd do the artwork. I'd do typography and logos and design and stuff and records. And it's just crazy for those things to not be out there and available. I mean, I want some, Really excited about the, bottle opener, keychain.
Yeah, some cool stuff. Nice to have the merch variety branch out a bit rather than just the shirts. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
I think there's skateboards coming. I'm not sure if those are already on there or not, but yeah. Yeah, it's fun.
I can see those doing well. Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, back in the day before this album dropped, when you guys got Jay in the band and you guys started jamming on and writing, putting God of Thunder together. And what was it like initially, like just having him in the band and playing live with him? Like it seemed like he brought something new into the band and energy, and also inspired that energy out of you guys, especially with the live thing or the old YouTube sort of grainy home videos that you can watch,
Yeah, no, Jay, it was great getting Jay in the band. I mean, we were just like asking friends, here and there, oh, can you play with us? Can you play with us? And, they'd be around for a few months or half a year and then like, oh, I'm going home for the summer, or I'm not into this, or, you can see by our many, 7-inch records and records we did ourselves that every record we have a different guitarist, basically. It's kind of funny. It's a lot like the Cramps, Lux and Ivy, just like, kept going through people. And we did too. And finally we got Jay, and, it was the funniest thing is we kind of had to trick him into, getting into the band because he thought he was joining as just like a rhythm guitarist, like a second guy. He thought there was still going to be somebody else doing solos and stuff. And we started practicing and he's like, wait a minute. You want me to do this and this? And we're like, yeah, you can do it. And we just kind of talked him into it. And, damn, it's just re-listening to Sexorcisto. He does some killer solos on that record. He really quickly became an amazing guitarist. Lead,
definitely.
I should say. Yeah. And he comes from like punk rock. He was in a band called Rights of the Accused out of Chicago when he was like 14 or something, like a little squirt. So he's like, he's just a punk rock dude. And, we all kind of come from do it yourself, just figure it out backgrounds, but he really transformed into just an amazing guitarist very quickly.
Oh, definitely. Most definitely. And that's interesting what you say about, do it yourself, background, figure it out yourself and do everything yourself. I mean, it really does come through, in terms of just the whole package that White Zombie brought, especially, from the start really. But, with Le Sexorcisto, I remember when that, came to our attention over here, I remember there was these two guys in high school. Back then I was like finishing up high school the last couple of years. And, there was a couple of guys. Yeah, there's always a couple of people at school who just know about everything before it gets released or somehow, Yeah. And they get people into, cool stuff and good music. And I remember them, sharing, well, first of all, the album cover was like, wow, what is this? It was really, really hard to make it, to figure out what the music was going to be like by that, all the psychedelic colors and, there's a wild looking people on the cover and stuff. And, but yeah, as soon as it was put on, I think around that time, it was just nothing like it. And I think that's why it appealed to so many people,
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's, we definitely were in our own little world. We didn't really have like a ton of influences as visually, musically, anything. We just were working on this thing we were doing that we wanted to sound really heavy. We wanted to sound different. We wanted there to be a groove in the music. And, hey, that's the damn name of your show, isn't it? The Heavy Groove. And
That's it. That's it.
Hey, I didn't say that for that reason, but yeah, that was something we were going after, and
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, we didn't. I'll tell you with Rob, like it was never like, well, what are you trying to do? Like, what do you like? He didn't like anything. He hated everything. You're like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. That sucks. That sucks. That sucks. So we're like, oh God, it was like, even with riffs, like we'd be down in Ivan's basement just riffing and riffing and riffing. So, nope. And then, we'd finally get a riff that he thought wasn't lame, like, God, thank you. Okay, let's go on. Yeah. So it was, process of elimination almost, trying to write songs and do anything in the band, but maybe that's what made us unique.
Yeah. I mean, that's an interesting way to do it. Like, just filter through everything that doesn't suck until you find something that everyone can agree on.
It's like, I'm not sure what I want here, but I know what I don't want.
Yeah. It's a place to start, eh? So I guess that was my next question was, did these, because Ivan did mention once that you guys jammed all this stuff in his family basement, and how long did it actually take to sort of get all those songs together, or was it like you got sort of half of them and then you just wrote more along the way out live, or was it all sort of done in one hit? Or
it was all written down in that basement, and yes, painstakingly. Hours, days, months. I feel like we spent maybe a year working on that, or at least 6 months. I don't know. We were, some of the songs we already had, we were already, playing gigs at CBGBs and, clubs and stuff. So, we had some of the songs probably, and I don't know. It's hard to remember that far back now that you mentioned how long ago. What is it made to be the 30th anniversary? That's insane. Anyway. Yeah, we were down in that basement for quite a while working on that record, and it was crazy. Our producer came down once, Andy Wallace, and listened for a bit and had a couple little suggestions, but not much really. He kind of was hands off and just did a great mix, and more in the studio, threw in some ideas like extra solo here, sound effects, and Rob had a million ideas for all the crazy little extra, kind of movie things and sound bites that are in there. So that was fun. But, I really can't remember how long it took to make that record. But I don't know if Ivan told you much about that basement and that house. Did he?
Not a lot. Well, I knew it was like a boarding house or something, and it was a pretty wild sort of environment. And that's about all I know.
Yeah, there's all that going on upstairs, and it was just the craziest assortment of people that stayed there, including Jay for a while. I think during the time we were making that record, I think he was renting a room upstairs. But that basement, Ivan made a really cool studio. But also in that basement, there was a guy that was like an old Vietnam veteran, and he wanted to be a drummer too, but he'd be off in his room that was kind of separate, but not exactly separate from the practice space, and like beating on cardboard boxes. Sometimes, you'd hear it and like play and stuff. And he had a pet raccoon, and the pet raccoon would somehow end up in our space in the drop ceiling. And then there'd be like, like raccoon shit and like smell of raccoon. The whole house was like pretty nutty. There was a lot of, it was never a dull moment in that house. I'll tell you that much.
Oh, that kind of, it adds to the whole B grade atmosphere, doesn't it?
Oh yeah. It was pretty crazy. Oh. So that was, that's one of my main memories is working on that record there, and then being at 321 Studios. I think it was like 48th, and it was way on the west side, 48th Street, and I don't know, maybe 9th or 10th Avenues. Anyway, it had before we were there. It was it was called, I think it was called 321 when we were there. Before that, it was called Hit Factory, where like John Lennon and Bowie and a million people made records. But when we got there, it was like kind of looked like a bomb had gone off. There's just broken down boxes laying around and just mostly abandoned. And I think there's one other band using a studio somewhere. It was, I don't know, had a very creepy vibe in there. It was a nice studio, once you got inside, but the building itself just seemed like it was on its last legs,
Okay. So was that like moving into like the extension of the basement where you guys used to jam?
Yeah.
Studio version?
I guess so. Oh man. I think we were getting like $10 a day to get by. And it was never like, oh, we're signed to Geffen, we can kick back and relax and, get limos and stuff. It was nothing like that. I know bands that lived like that from Geffen, and we were not one of those bands.
I didn't lay it all out on the table for you guys, that's for sure.
There was no lanyap for us. No, not much going on, but we did it. We got it done.
Yeah, I mean, well, that again, it's just all the little ingredients that ended up making one hell of a cool thing at the end of the day. I mean, you mentioned Andy Wallace came down and checked out your stuff and had suggestions. Was that was this all studio time, or did he actually come and see you guys in the basement as well when you were jamming? Or
yeah, that was not studio time. That was before we went in the studio. He wanted to come down and check it out. He's a cool guy. Yeah. I was thrilled when we got him because I love Slayer records, so I was like, yes, we got the guy that did Slayer. So anyway, that was he came down before we did the record and had a few suggestions here and there. Maybe you can break this riff up and have some little stops, and maybe you can change a key here, and just little things like that. It was nice, but
it's cool to have that that extra year that's not sort of caught up in the whole process. You can listen to it from a different perspective. Really, really, that's a nice thing.
Yeah, and a pro like that,
Yeah,
nice.
definitely. And you had to wait a while, by the time you wrote all the stuff, and then by the time Geffen actually gave you that. When did Michael Alago come into the picture during all of this? Before he sort of signed you.
So we had made the God of Thunder EP for Caroline Records in, I think, 88 or 89. And Daniel Ray produced that. And so that was on Caroline. And Daniel Ray is good friends with Michael Alago, and he's like, I'm going to see if I can get this guy interested in you guys. I'm going to bring him out. And so thank goodness he did, because Michael, became a good friend of ours, and he started, coming to our shows. And finally we did this one show. I think it was a really cool club. It didn't last very long. I think it was called 428 Lafayette. It was underground, beneath a great restaurant, Indochine, on kind of almost borderline on the East Village. And this guy, John Seidel, owned it, and he ended up in LA. He's a super cool guy, just opened up a ton of great clubs and all kinds of stuff. But anyway, he had this club in New York, and we had seen the Beastie Boys play there like a week or two before us, and I think Run DMC or LL Cool J, somebody else cool had with Rick Rubin's label had played there, and then they asked us to play there, and man, back in New York days, we get not paid at all, and zero drinks, and this place gave us this big case of beer, and we didn't even know what to do with it. We're like, oh, beer, okay, and then paid us $500. We're like, wow, at the jackpot, and Alago was there, and he loved it, and then he started talking about signing us, and apparently he had a bit of a struggle. Geffen's based in LA, so he was going out there, I guess, trying to convince them, and I don't think they were ever really too into it, but they let him finally sign us. So that, and he's one of my best friends to this day. I every time I go to New York, I make sure to make an appointment and see him and have some hang time. So, it's great to still be friends after all these years.
Cool. Yeah, I want to see the doco on Netflix, but I don't think it's not on Australian Netflix. It's probably on the American one. But have you seen it?
Yeah. I'm actually in it a little bit, and I'm in a animated part that I tell a funny story about in LA. Like, that was probably like, I don't know, 94, 95. We went to go
Yeah.
see it was Guns N' Roses and Nirvana played a great
Whoa.
show. Yeah, right.
Nice.
And we went, and it's kind of a long story, but I'll try to just shorten it because it's a really funny part in the documentary. This guy animates it. We get out in the parking lot. We leave a little early. We've got backstage passes, Guns N' Roses and all this, and tickets and stuff, and there's some guys in the parking lot, and Alago goes up and it's like, "Oh, do you guys want to get into the show? They're still playing. Here's some backstage passes and whatever." And these guys, I guess, were homophobic or something and picked up on the fact that he was gay, which is impossible not to do with Michael. And they just, like, one of them just, like, attacked him and started trying to beat the shit out of him. And next thing you know, they were just, like, flying through the air, and the other guys had jumped in, and, we were with Daniel Ray, too, and Daniel Ray tried to get in there, and I was like, I'm a girl, I'm not getting in there, But I cannot fight. And next thing you know, it was like in the cartoons where it's just like a big, like, ball of, like, dust, and when the dust settles, Michael Alago had this kid slammed up against the back of a pickup truck. He had his hair in one hand that he had, like, smashed his head against the whatever, the back of the truck. And then he had, in his other hands, he had him by the balls. And he's like, "I eat kids like you for breakfast." Like, what? I was like, God damn, that's a tough New Yorker.
Yeah,
I mean, he doesn't mess around, man. That guy is awesome. He's got so many crazy stories. He did a record with Nina Simone and Cyndi Lauper, and he signed Metallica. He's just, like, all over the map. He doesn't care. He's like, he likes what he likes.
Yeah, that's a great thing.
Yeah.
I was thinking all that might have had a bit of weight with him pushing for you guys, as he'd signed some pretty cool shit before that,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we're thrilled to be one of his picks.
Yeah, definitely. Just getting back to the album. I heard a track called Platinum Bomb that you guys left off the album. Was there a bunch of other songs that kind of left off the cut, or was it?
No, there wasn't. We were the opposite of prolific. I forgot about that song. That's crazy. I totally forgot about that song. I don't know why that got left off. I can't even hear it in my head now. It's been so long. But cool name.
Yeah, super cool name. And that kind of a little bit what do you call it? Prophetic as a platinum, as the album ended up going platinum, double platinum.
Oh, triple. Yeah. It kept going. Went triple.
Yeah. Actually, there's a couple. I checked it out on YouTube. There's like 3 versions of the same live track, but in different formats.
Wow. I'm gonna have to check.
There's the live performance, real grainy old home video. One of your roadies probably took or something. I don't know. And then there's like someone did their own film clip version of it.
Wow.
Which is pretty funny.
Okay.
Yeah. And then just an audio of it, but it's a super cool song. I really dug it.
Nice.
Could have left one of the samples off and just thrown that on. Would have been good.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what happened there. Can't remember.
Yeah. But definitely had a vibe about it. That group of songs. I mean, do you have a personal favorite out of all the tracks on the Sexorcisto, or was it just like, yeah, whatever?
Well, I think Thunder Kiss does stick out, and also I can't think of the name of it.
Well,
So
Sunshine's your song, isn't it? Did you write all the riffs in that, or just the
Sunshine.
main?
Yeah, those riffs are mine, but you know what Jay's doing over it, and what you know, I even like everybody's what everybody does with those riffs is like very interesting because I'm actually I wrote that song in like 6/8 timing. I'm like a trained musician since I was like 5 years old. Like I was playing like whatever in concerts and stuff when I was very young, like piano and violin and stuff, and doing blues improv and in little clubs like when I was like 6 or 7. Anyway, so you know, I'm like, it's not like, oh, I'm gonna do a tricky time signature, but you know, it's in threes. If you listen to Black Sunshine, you know, it's all in threes. Yeah. But Ivan is playing a 4/4 beat. I couldn't, you know, I wasn't going to be like, hey, play waltz time, you know. Be kind of lame for a heavy band, right? So I was like, all right, we'll just see what happens here. And, you know, once I get through that pattern twice, it comes back around, you know, the 4/4 like matches up that he's doing. So that's kind of intricate in itself. That's why a lot of people listen to it and get confused. I've had so many musicians be like, okay, wait, how does that go? Like, is this a, you know, and it's, you know, it's just interesting because it's a different, we're doing 2 different time signatures basically, and they line up eventually. And then Jay doing those dives, and you know, and then on the record getting Iggy Pop like doing that intro that was amazing.
So works, so great.
Yeah, that was the cherry on top of the the record because just getting to meet him and amazing.
He was kind of like giving you guys plugged Soul Crusher days, wasn't he? He loved what you were doing then.
Yeah, he's such a great guy. And after the record came out, we moved to LA and I'd see him like at the Viper Room a lot, you know, like he's super nice, you know, just super cool guy. So that was a real treat watching him. He did that intro and outro like a number of times. He's like, oh, let me try it again. And every time just sounded great, you know?
Yeah. How did you know? Was it a bit hard to pick which one to use, or it was pretty clear at the end which one you guys wanted to use?
I don't know how they decided. I was like, they're all good to me, you know, but yeah.
Yeah. And with the samples, did you guys like you said, Rob had so many ideas, you know, like what he wanted to throw in. Did he just kind of like, you guys just left it all to him and he just threw it in there, and then one day you guys turned up and it was all sort of in place sort of thing?
Pretty much. Yeah, he had collected millions of samples. In our little tiny apartment in East Village, he just had a TV, which is I didn't know anyone that had TVs in New York City back then. He had a TV and he had a little old school like recorder where you hold the microphone up, and he just, you know, and he's like, his main obsession is horror movies and stuff. So he had all these, you know, video cassettes, and he plays things over and over and over again, and he kept recording little bits and pieces he wanted and to work in, and you know, some of them didn't make it in. Like there's a Charles Manson quote. Surprisingly, Manson, while in jail, of course, said no. And I can't remember. There was a few others that did not get approved, but for the most part, yeah, he got most of them in there. Of course, you know, being on Geffen, they had to make sure everything was legit and nobody was going to get sued, you know. So it did cut a few of his samples out, but yeah, those are all Rob.
Once again, just definitely, it seemed like, you know, some of them were just made for some of those songs, you know, it just fits so well as well. So especially the intro when the album opens up, and the outro. I love the outro too. The you know, if you listen to this album a few more times, you begin to understand.
Yeah.
That's so well.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it definitely makes it a unique record.
Yeah, definitely. And when you guys first started playing those songs live, how was the I mean, obviously the crowd would have been loving it, but was it like much of a different sort of initial sort of reaction to the new material than the older stuff?
Oh man, you know, I was trying to remember that. the other day thinking about this interview, and it's really hard to remember our first gigs touring for this record, and
Yeah.
we did well, but we're still just in little clubs, and
Yeah.
when we were headlining, and when you open for bands, we did great with Pantera and some of the bands we opened for, but it's it's just I I really can't remember when things started kind of kicking in. We just never stopped touring though. We stayed on the road because we had to.
That's right.
We had nowhere to live. We gave up our apartment. We had no budget. We just lived in the van and cheap motels. We'd cram in and get like a place to shower, and then get back on the road. And so it was pretty crazy back then. It's hard to remember some of those details.
Yeah, well, it was like how long after it released did Beavis and Butthead sort of start plugging it? Because it was quite a while, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a while. Quite honestly, now this I remember. Let's see, I'm trying to think what year that came out in. Was it 92? Anyway, something like that. We toured for a full year and a half before it was on Beavis and Butthead, and we were actually we had sold about 30,000 records, and the people at Geffen were thrilled. They were like, "Oh, pretty good. Like you guys did all right. Why don't you come? You can come back home now and make another record, And so we had just finished, the last of whatever tour we were on, and we were driving back, and all of a sudden we started getting all this attention, with Beavis and Butthead, and we didn't even know what that was. We hadn't really had time to be watching it or anything anywhere. We were just in a van for so long, and that happened, and they were like, we started, Geffen's just started selling hundreds and thousands and more records, and it's like, you got to get back on the road. So then we went back on the road for 2 more years, I think. Yeah, it was close to at least another year or so. We just did a huge whole nother tour, for quite a while, and and that was incredible. It was totally different. Going from
just having that all those new fans. And did that tour go anywhere else? Was it just the States, and was it Canada as well, or did you go further afield? Or
we'd go to Canada pretty much regularly. Whenever we did US, we'd also do Canada. But I'm trying to remember. I don't think we went back to Europe. We'd gone before the big break with Beavis and Butthead and MTV. We gone to Europe with Danzig, and I can't remember, did Kaius come with us? We did this great tour for at least a 6-week tour in the United States with Kaius, White Zombie, Danzig. That was so much fun. And and then for some reason I can't remember. I think it was just us. Kaius couldn't make it, but we went over and did another 6 weeks right after that with Danzig all over Europe. But then we didn't go back. I don't think. Sorry. If we did, I can't remember. No, we got, wait a minute. Yeah, no. Sorry. I can't remember. It might have been kind of when we were breaking, because I remember during that tour, we went and did a one-off in London and sold out we sold out the Marquee Club, which was awesome. I'll never forget that. So I feel like maybe that was the tour, maybe that Danzig tour is what helped us break, and then also the momentum with Beavis and Butthead. It's a little blurry, sorry.
That's all good.
Something like that could have happened.
Was that Marquee Club, what was it, sort of held quite a few people, like the capacity sort of in terms of the crowd? Or
it was a good sized club. I can't quite remember. I'd say, anywhere from 500 to 1,000 maybe. It was still a club, but it's, kind of a historic club, and I'm glad we played there before it shut down. So that was pretty cool.
It would have been amazing to be touring with all these bands that you guys, looked up to and loved their stuff, and then all of a sudden you're sharing the stage with them. That would have been super nice.
Yeah. Yeah, that was pretty crazy.
I heard a story from, I don't know if you remember this, but I heard a story from, I haven't even mentioned that one day you guys were, hanging with Pantera and in LA somewhere and Tool were playing and you guys all went to see them before they really broke huge and you were kind of like all sort of jamming a little bit on stage. Does that ring a bell or anything like that?
That they were jamming or that we got up and jammed? I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last part of that. Like that
something like that. Like they were after the show, like you guys, Pantera and Tool were jamming a little bit. I don't know. That's what he mentioned.
I believe it, but I don't remember that, unfortunately. We used to tour. We used to, when we first moved to LA. After we had finished recording and we were kind of waiting around for the record to come out. We would play with Tool pretty often. Like we do some local gigs with them. So we were friends with them. So that's, it's quite plausible. And I'm sure, Ivan's memory is sharper than mine. So I believe
that's cool because I've never really heard fans mentioned, like that they've attended Tool and Zombie shows because I never actually realized that actually happened, but that would have been super cool to witness back in the day for sure.
It did. There was a promoter in LA named Dale Gloria, and she booked our first show when we passed through LA, like way before getting signed to Geffen, back in the 80s. We passed through and she booked us at this club that she did called Club with No Name. And I feel like, I don't know, maybe they were just there. Yeah, Jane's Addiction were there. Perry Farrell was, at least. I don't remember that much. We were like, oh my God. We were kind of freaking out about that. And I feel like maybe we opened for them, or there were some other cool bands playing, and we were, at the very beginning, like opener. But when we moved to LA, not back, but when we first moved there, we somehow were in touch with her, and she would start booking us with Tool, every so often. It was nice. Yeah, we were friends with those guys. We lived in this crazy building before we started touring the record, and just gave up our apartment, lived on the road. We had this. It was in this building called the Fuller Martell Plaza, and it was right across the street from Rock and Roll Denny's. There's like a, do you know about Denny's? It's like a
I've heard of it, yeah.
24-hour coffee shop, whatever. But this one was Rock and Roll Denny's. Like at any given moment, you see like a bunch of, metalheads and rock stars and stuff in there, and it's 24 hours. Yeah. So it would get kind of crazy in there. So we were right across the street from that. Guitar Center was next door to that. There was, it was just crazy over there. And, everyone in the band, everyone in the building were in a band. So it was like, the Circus Power guys from New York City. I don't know if you know about them. They're like, biker rock. And they moved out there before us, and they were in that building. Then we moved in, and Tool didn't live there, but, God, there were so many bands that lived there, and it was just fucked up, Those guys were like, "Oh man, it's not the Fuller Martell Plaza, it's the Full Metal Plaza." The Full Metal Plaza. Oh man, the singer of Circus of Power, he had a wolf for a pet, like looked like a dog as a wolf, and he would let his wolf bathe, and there was a little jacuzzi on the rooftop, which I guarantee was probably a great place to catch any germ you wanted. So I never put foot in there. And then knowingly also that is where he washed his wolf, was to take him up to Oh God. So crazy.
I know obviously you've released I'm in the Band, but I think you need to release like a full on full on just with every single story you can imagine.
Oh man.
Remember.
Yeah, it's too much. Some stuff I can't remember, but some stuff I do very vividly.
It's gotta be funny when you do interviews like this. Sometimes the memories pop in that you just haven't thought about since back then. You know.
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah. For me, it was personally it was a real disappointment when Ivan left the band because I thought he got in a groove that was super cool. Phil, I don't know, I never really related to Phil, but when John joined, I thought that was also cool because he's a super cool drummer as well.
Yeah, no, Johnny's great. Ivan was great too, and I was very sad to see him go because he's like my little brother.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if it's because we both have the crazy curly hair or what, but he's a good guy, man. We're still friends. We talk, we talk here and there. So
yeah. Mm-hmm. Obviously, some of that energy that he brought to the live performances, is always seemed like super enthusiastic back on the back of the kit. And I really think that, some of the live stuff that I've seen, on YouTube, just before he left, some of those gigs are amazing. Just the vibe that all four of you guys had live on stage. I think it was just showcased, what was to come with, releasing that album and what was in store for the fans live wise. I thought it was like really, 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 really cool vibe,
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It was exciting. It's funny. I haven't listened to that record in a long time, and I listened to it before this interview a few days ago, and I was like, God, Ivan's just such a basher. I love it. He's great. I mean, Tempesta too. Like I can't handle a drummer that's unhit hard, man. It makes me crazy. It's like, damn thing, break something.
Yeah. Well, I mean that. I've got to say that your bass tone on the album is damn cool because it's really got some depth in there. You can really hear what you're doing. Where a lot of that style of music often just gets drowned out.
Yeah, no thanks. I always, when we started, I didn't have any amp, and Ivan had a old kind of beat up guitar amp down there, and I plugged in through that, and then our guitarist was kind of making this crazy noise, and it just seemed like, I don't know, it was already kind of coming through a little mid-tony with this guitar amp, and I thought if you go too low, you can't really make out the notes, and I was kind of keeping the riff down, and this is back when Tom was in the band. He was kind of making this very cool, dissonant noise over it, and it just kind of became my sound. I really like having a lot of mid in there. I basically I get up to my SVT, I put everything at 12 o'clock, and it sounds great. It's like, swear to God, man. People are like, how do you do that? I was like, I just put everything, line everything up straight up, man, and you get a good sound. Helps to have a SVT, but
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely got some super dynamic bottom end, which is really nice. Like, cause, Jay's, it's just really nice to hear a bass player that's not doing everything the guitarist is doing. And,
yeah.
And especially with the dynamics in those songs, definitely works really well.
Well, thanks. I was always a big Cliff Burton fan, and also Lemmy. Just that sound. You know what I mean? It's like you hear the bass. It's not like a lot of people are like, oh, you should only feel the bass. Not like
no way.
I'm playing some riffs here, man. You gotta hear the notes.
Yeah.
So that's kind of.
Did you ever get to meet Cliff?
Sorry? Oh.
Did you ever get to meet Cliff?
No. I wish. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing.
So, yeah. Just
it
incredible.
must feel pretty, I don't know what the right word is, but amazing when people rattle off their favorite bass players and you and Cliff are in the same list.
Oh man, it's mind blowing. Yeah. I couldn't be more honored,
And Lemmy, obviously. Yeah. Do you have a favourite piece that Cliff's done that just stands out for you?
Oh, a favorite. What do you mean, like a Pete, like?
Like the favourite song the Cliff wrote.
Well, I mean, the intro for Whom the Bell Tolls, that's like, that's it,
Yeah.
just to make lead bass right there.
Yeah, pretty nutty. I remember when I first watched Cliff and Wall back on VHS, and he's watching him do his anesthesia thing live on stage. Everyone was like, "What the hell? What's this guy doing?"
Yeah.
And just nutty. Yeah.
Incredible.
Hey, one thing I've got to ask: is there anything cool that, well, you don't have to, say if you can't say it, but anything cool that might be coming up for the 30th anniversary?
Oh, no. Flat out no.
I had to ask.
Yeah, no, thank you for asking.
Could be something in the pipeline. You never know. So I thought I'd check it out. When you're in Europe, did you manage to catch up with Jay, have a drink or something, or you guys didn't cross paths?
Definitely, yeah. Saw him a number of times actually. He's doing quite good.
Nice.
Yeah. He's another brother.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
And anything else coming up for you, like music wise or art wise? Any exhibitions or anything?
I'm hoping to get an exhibit. It's been hard with COVID, but I had a new show that I just kind of showed to friends, but did actually sell a number of pieces. Just an outdoor kind of thing at the end of, I guess it was around May or June. But I'd like to have a real show with the show, like in a gallery, and it's a show called Dorvay, and it's very like all these haunting photos of different scenes around New Orleans, but under fog.
Okay.
Yeah, it was great for COVID because I'd get up at which is really hard for me, but I get up around 5 or 6 in the morning and go out with my camera and just on. Quite often you can look in the weather report and see there's like a heavy fog advisory in New Orleans. Yeah. It happens a lot being surrounded by the Mississippi, and so I don't know, these photos are just some of my favorite photos I've ever shot, and I'm hoping to do. I'm talking to a few people now, so hopefully in the next few months I'll have a gallery show for that.
Cool. How is the situation in well, obviously like the aftermath of the hurricane, but COVID wise in your area, is it still pretty rampant or?
It's actually, New Orleans is like one of the better places. Like people really went and got vaccinated, and now just like in New York, there's not many cities doing this, but what I was told, there's just like 5 cities that have this, but we have kind of like a little passport. You get an app on your phone, and it shows that you've been vaccinated and all that, and you can get into like restaurants and bars. So now it's not only is COVID way down in New Orleans, but you can also like go to places where you're safe. So it's been pretty okay here. And even when COVID was in its height and there wasn't a vaccine, it wasn't available. Even then, there's so many like parks and outdoors space here. It's not like New York City, of course, where you're kind of all crammed in there on top of each other. It was pretty easy to be here during COVID and not feel entirely cooped up. So that was nice. I'm sure Australia must have. What was it like there? Oh my God, I can't even imagine. I mean, did you guys even get it?
Yeah, it is here in the southern states, Victoria and New South Wales, Sydney and Melbourne. They copped it reasonably bad for Australian standards. rest of the country hardly. Where I live in Queensland, which is a northeastern state. So we've been pretty damn fortunate over here actually. So
yeah.
not much.
More, seems like the more space and more nature you have, you know,
Yeah.
the better.
Yeah, definitely. So,
we loved it down there. I wish I could have gone back to Australia. That's
just the one time, wasn't it? That tour you came out here?
Yeah. I really wish we could have come back, but like I said, that's a hard tour to pull off, you know. You gotta definitely have a lot of money behind that. Just the plane tickets alone.
That's right. Yeah, I remember hearing a stand-up comedian once saying you guys shouldn't be called Australia, you should just be called FAR.
Yeah, I'm really
one hell of a journey. But fans are pretty passionate down here when bands that they love actually do tour. Yeah, I mean you would have remembered.
Crowds are great.
Actually, you guys really well. I have to say, you being one of the pioneering women in metal. I remember turning around after that show in Brisbane in '95, and I couldn't believe that it was pretty much 50-50 women and men in the audience, and I'd never ever seen that in a metal show before.
Wow,
the first time.
so,
yeah.
That's amazing. I don't know if I was blinded by the lights, but I don't quite remember that. But I believe you. That's amazing. Wasn't really like that in the States, but I feel like later, like girls kind of caught on that I was in the band, like after we broke up or something. No, but it was mostly guys. But yeah, I'm sure there were some girls out there too. But that's amazing, 50-50.
Yeah, well, I reckon it would have been. I couldn't believe it because I'd been to quite a few metal shows before that, but with you guys, I turned around and went, "What the hell?" Yeah, it's definitely had an influence. I mean, how does that feel like being, one of the pioneering women in metal that sort of brought? I mean, now there's so many women in metal,
Yeah. No, it was great. It was really great. I still get, recognized by really little girls, they're like going to like School of Rock classes and stuff, and just it's awesome, I'm totally blown away and just really appreciative that I was able to be an influence like that,
Oh, 100%, because you were the first woman in really the heavy stuff, like there was some hard rock women and all that sort of thing, punk rock, all that, but into the actual real, the heavy groove, the heavy, the considered, the full on sort of metal, you were really the first one, as far as I can tell.
It felt that way. I mean, as far as all the bands we toured with and the whole, the bands that were big back then, I couldn't really, I have a lot of female idols, if it weren't for Joan Jett and Ivy from the Cramps, I might not have thought about going this route, but like you said, they're not the kind of metal that we were doing, it's like rock and roll and punk rock and, which I love too, but it's just, I don't know. It's just, it's a long, crazy trip and very cool to, have gotten to do that,
Do you kind of remember when you kind of, I don't know, it just seemed to be the fact that you mentioned, I've heard you say this many times, that you were mistaken for just another one of the guys up on stage, but there must have been a time when you visually and aesthetically you were like, nah, I'm the chick in the band, I'm the woman in the band, and, let's be clear about it, sort of thing, because you started dressing different and it was pretty obvious that you were a girl in the band.
I don't know, I didn't, no, I wasn't like conscientiously like dressing differently, but a lot of it was like friends that were like, in LA that were designers, like, here, wear these leather hot pants. I was like, all right,
Yeah, right. Okay.
Stuff, and if I liked it, I'd wear it, but but, yeah, I don't know. And I mean, I don't think my style changed that much really from earlier days, but it was nice, but I did still have people think I was a guy a lot of times, and I was kind of like that, kind of androgynous, like questionable, like, well, what's going on here? thing. So it was kind of easier in the earlier days too, when we're just totally playing like, all metal, with Testament and, just everybody, just all metal and no chicks backstage. No, well, maybe later, but not before.
Yeah.
And, just all dudes, all roadies, everybody, everywhere. And, it was all guys. So it kind of seemed easier to just, get by and have people think that, maybe that's a dude too. I don't know. I don't know, but yeah, it was very, I guess, a unusual experience, and a great one.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, that would have been amazing stuff to witness, and like from your point of view. And I'm like really pleased that you mentioned also before that, you were treated well. You were treated. Yeah, not.
Everybody was great. Everyone we toured, all the bands we toured with, so nice, and all the fans were so great. All the crews, local crews, other people's crews, like, yeah, I don't know. Everybody was just like a good friend or like a big brother. It was amazing.
Yeah. It's really good. Can you? I know everyone's probably asked this many times, but can you remember everyone's got their dime story, but what can you remember the first time you met him and what that was like, rather than just your favorite story, but when you actually first time you guys met and your interaction?
I'm trying to remember, when did I first meet those guys? It must have been on a tour. God, it's hard to remember the first time I met him, but the first time I saw him, and I'm wondering, did we open for them? They played L'Amour's, which is this metalhead club in Brooklyn, and Ivan always would go there, and Pantera played there. I think we just went to see him the first time we went to see him at L'Amour's. We weren't anywhere near being ready to open for them. And, I just remember, seeing him shredding and, just the insanity, it was, he's just a magical beast. There's no musician like him. I mean, he's just insanely talented, and, the things he come up with is very innovative and, hilarious, ridiculous. I don't know. This isn't the first time I met him, but on the road with him, he had this little gambling like dice game, and I'm like willing to bet $1 or $2, and he's betting like $100 time. Oh, this would be in Vegas too. Like we'd stop through Vegas with Pantera sometimes on these tours, and be in a casino for like hours, till like 5 a.m, like gambling. But I'm just like, I don't want to lose a lot of money, man. I'll bet, like I said, if the minimum is $5, I'll bet $5. And there's, Dimebag's just like $100, like hundreds of bucks. He doesn't care. And if I bet only like $1 or $2, he'd throw a $100 bill on top of my bet. And if I didn't care, I was like, God, that guy is the most generous, hilarious, ridiculous person I ever met in my life. Just, one of those magic people.
Oh, definitely. I remember when I first saw him in '94. When they did that's when they first toured here, when they did Far Beyond Driven tour. And we're at the after party at one of the metal clubs in Brisbane, and those guys roll up, and me and my mates were just hanging out a little bit with them. Like, obviously everyone wants to hang out with them, but we managed to get a few minutes with them, and we're like, one of my mates is like, you got to come back to our place after this, have some beers, have some bongs, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, yeah, man, hook us up. And he's pulls out, gives us a Sharpie to write the directions on his arm.
Yeah.
And like, he's a fucking nutcase, man. But it's like, yeah, everything you hear about him is true. Like he's got time for everyone, no matter what time of day.
Yeah. 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 He's one of a kind. Yeah.
And basically, yeah. Oh man, I still remember that when I heard the news in 2004. I think everyone remembers where they were when they heard that. It was just like, fucking, what the hell? It's just like some nightmare, some weird joke or something, you know?
Yeah. That was a shock to the system for sure.
Yeah. Unheard of, like, while you're performing. I mean, yeah. Anyway, we won't go into that, but
Oh, no.
Yeah, just crazy.
I will say, in a true Dimebag fashion, he was at the funeral. He was in a Gene Simmons a Kiss coffin.
Yeah.
And that was his. And his.
Did you actually go? Did you go to it?
Yeah, I did go.
Yeah.
And that would have made him laugh so hard because he always he has his own language, right? So like you can't understand what he's saying because it's almost like Cockney rhyming, like he'll like abbreviate things down once he's kind of made the joke, and then you're really lost unless you know his language. So he would I got this from Rita, his girlfriend, and so when it was time to go to bed, they had I don't know if they had a bed or he just had seen commercials or whatever for Gene Simmons Beauty Rest bed, right? There's a bed called the Gene Simmons. And I think it was like Jean, I think it was I don't know, but it was as I remember these commercials back in the day, Gene Simmons Beauty Rest, mattress. And so he's like, so he'd be like, I gotta hit the Gene. When he was tired, he'd tell her, I'm gonna hit the Gene. And then it became like, Gene Simmons, like from Kiss. And, that was just a wonderful thing that I'm sure he was giggling from above, seeing himself. Gene Simmons actually made coffins and, Kiss coffins, something else.
I think they're the most merchandised band on the universe, obviously, with everything that they've got.
Got it all.
Yeah, they do have it all. They do have it all. Yeah, wow. That would have been, that would have been totally surreal. Like the amount of, how many people you think attended that service? Would have been thousands, right?
No, it was a very small occasion, and not a lot of people were invited. It was, it's weird. I feel like also in the coffin with him was a Eddie Van Halen guitar, and I feel like Eddie Van Halen might have been there. It was a bit of a blur because it was very, I was insanely upset, and as everyone was, and but there's like those little things that kind of, it's like, oh well, that's he would have liked that, the guitar and the anyway.
Oh yeah, he was honored as he should have been, honored as a true legend.
Yeah, definitely.
So
his riffs and silliness will live on forever.
Oh, most definitely, especially if they're hinting at the fact that Bobby Tongs and Rita saying that there's still so much footage that they haven't released that might still see the light of day at some point.
They got to get that out there. I'm sure they have I'm sure they have oceans of tape.
Yeah, it's probably still heaps of you guys on it as well, floating around somewhere.
Right.
One thing I wanted to just quickly touch on before we finish up was that move to sorry, just let me. No, about Astro Creep. Sorry, the Astro Creep album. The process there, was that quite a lot different from like in terms of how it came together and how you guys wrote it and stuff? Was that quite a whole different sort of experience to Sexorcisto in terms of how it came about?
Not really. No, we all got together in a room and slogged it out. It's like,
Oh, okay.
that sucks. That riff sucks. Okay, that riff's okay. You know,
Same process.
A lot of that, yeah. Same process. Of course, you know, we had Charlie Clauser doing some extra things on the record, and I love everything he did. It's just you know, kind of a whole new thing, whole new animal with those extra tracks. But no, as far as us coming up with songs, same torturous process.
Yeah. And having Terry Date behind the desk was
wonderful. Another great producer. Yeah. Feel like to have worked with both of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, definitely brought the crunch on that one. That's for sure.
Indeed. Mm.
Yeah. I remember the first time. I mean, I'm pretty sure the Brisbane show, you guys. I mean, you know how sometimes you try and look up old. I don't know if you've done it before, but you try and look up old set lists online, trying to remember what, because you know you went, but you just can't remember what you heard because it's all a blur. You try and look up the old set lists and all that sort of thing, and it's hard. I can't remember the order of songs you guys played, but I do remember you opened the show with Electric Head Part 1, Supercharger Heaven, and Real sorry, what's the third track? Real Solution. Yeah, Real Solution number 9.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So it was how it was on the album you guys opened with, so that was super cool. Just to have those 3 in a row to kick off the show. And I remember the crowd, going pretty crazy with that.
Awesome. Yeah, I just remember those shows being great, you know. Australia is like very exciting.
Those venues too, not too, they're good sized venues. Back then in Australia, they were like just, you know, a few thousand, which is not too small and not too big. It's like a good sized room, and you're not too far from the action. It's and you know, the crowd, you know, you can see the response, you know.
Yeah, I remember that also. 'Cause, yeah, we're pretty much playing arena, you know, like more like 10 to 15,000 seaters, and I remember them being, you know, smaller but still nice size. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was pretty amazing what you used to say about when you used to play some of those arena shows that you'd still get stopped by security. What are you doing here?
Yeah. Yeah, when they went with singing for a guy, they were trying to stop me from getting on stage. Yeah, that happened. I almost didn't make it on stage one night. Luckily, our stage manager came back and had to give a local security guy a little talking to, like, oh, out there.
That's nutty.
Yeah. There's all these cues too, you know, I could hear the music start, you know, like one of the, you know, wacky intros, like something going on, and the concussion bombs getting ready to go off, and we're like, oh, great. I'm still not on stage. Yeah. That was interesting.
Awesome. Yeah. So, I want to really, thank you so much, Sean, for, getting online today and, you know, giving up a bit of your time to talk about the 30th, anniversary of this iconic album.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Dan. It was my pleasure. It was a fun interview and good to look back on all this. I can't believe it.
Yeah. 30 years, I know. It's pretty crazy. But, you know, it's good to, honor the great albums from back then and, give them a bit of love, you know, when they come up to their birthdays. So definitely worth talking about.
Yep. Oh, thank you so much.
Cool. So yeah, you take care and, thanks so much. And, hopefully we can chat again one day maybe.
Awesome. Sounds good. All right. Thanks so much. Take care, Dan.
Okay. See ya.
Bye.